And when I first started at BYU, all three of the older kids were on missions. So if I was going to stay at school, I had to have a job. So I got a job. We went up a week early, two of my cousins and I, and we got jobs, and I became a secretary in the industrial arts department. And so I would go to school from 7 a.m. to noon, and then I would work from like 12:30 to 4:30 or 1 to 5 every day. And then after that I had to go home, and living in the Heritage Halls then was family cooking, family style cooking. So you had to cook a meal for, so 1 week out of...
For all the girls in your apartment?
Yeah. And then 1 week you had to do the cleaning up. So by the time I got to study, it was sometimes like 7 or 8 o'clock at night before I ever got to study. So I didn't get the best grades in the world. Just enough to pass, kind of.
That's okay. You'll learn more in college than what's in your classroom.
Yeah.
Learn about independence and growing up. And
True.
That was at UVRMC, what would now be Utah Valley Hospital.
Regional Hospital,
Whatever it
yeah.
was then.
Yeah. It wasn't near as big then as it is now. That's why we had to go up to Salt Lake. So when I was a sophomore and spring quarter, went up to Salt Lake City, and I spent the next couple of years up there working in the LDS hospital. That's where I did most of the hospital work.
Because of your nursing degree, it was easier for you to find work wherever you went.
Yeah.
So wherever Dad ended up in schools, you could easily go get a job that would help provide for the family.
Right. That's true.
That's a big blessing.
It is, and it wasn't... The only time I was ever turned down was at St. John's in Oxnard, and after I heard about how it was that their old hospital turned me down, and I was really glad after. I think that must have been a blessing, really, that I didn't get a job there, because from the sounds of it, I wouldn't have liked working there.
Well, but you went to Los Robles and got in then.
I did. Well, actually, yeah, when I first came here, I applied at St. John's and Community in Ventura. And St. John's turned me down, but Community hired me, so I worked there till you were born. I worked there while I was pregnant with you, and I wanted to go back.
You didn't work at Los Robles?
I did, later.
Oh.
But just part-time. I worked part-time. I didn't like it there very well either. One of their anesthesiologists was LDS, and he was a real stinker. And he wouldn't even talk to you. And then the day that I was my last day there, they told him I was Mormon. He said, "Why didn't you tell me?" And, I'm thinking, why didn't you talk to me? Why didn't you ask?
Why would you have treated me any different?
Yes. Yeah, so that's true. So I didn't, I didn't like that. And he kind of ruled the roost, and I thought he was, not very nice guy. Too puffed up.
Very nicely put there. Searching for kind words. So you started out as an OR nurse. What other jobs did you do?
I was mostly always an an operating room nurse, except when we lived in King City. I worked on the floor sometimes because they only had one surgeon. And he would be, he might have 1 or 2 cases, and then he wouldn't have anything for the rest of the day. So sometimes I worked a shift on the floor. I didn't really like that very well either. But
that's sit at your station, make rounds, and check on people in
yeah,
beds.
give medicines and stuff like that.
Take their readings.
Well, actually, I did some of that here at Pleasant Valley occasionally too. But I didn't like it as well as the operating room. That was always my favorite. I was more comfortable there. But the other was interesting to do, even so.
Did you ever do shifts in maternity?
No, I never did. I didn't like the repetition there, because you were doing the same thing over and over and having to clean up after messy baby births. I didn't want to do that.
Well, on the floor, people would, have bedpans and need help going to the bathroom.
Yeah, but they didn't make as much mess. And most of the time,
to get that baby out, it's all
Yeah.
Just,
It's all over everywhere.
yeah.
So, yeah.
So you could have been a nurse for much longer if you didn't have to deal with the cleanup.
No, I could have been a nurse longer anyway. I just chose not to. I chose to quit.
I do remember you telling me though that that was one of the things you liked the least about being a nurse was the cleanup.
Yeah, you had to do a lot of cleanup. It's always scrubbing and, well, not so much. Pleasant Valley was a small hospital, so we did a lot of cleanup, and we also ran the central supply, which meant we had to do our own instrument packs and stuff. So, well, that was a learning experience. It wasn't something I wanted to do for the rest of my life, but the main reason I quit was because I was getting tired for one thing, and for another thing, I felt like Dallin was getting to an age where I needed to be home for him. I had never felt like that with you other kids, but he was on his own quite a bit, you know, and I felt like I needed to be home for him. So I did. I quit.
Well, and you know, Dad was
He was making more money.
made plenty of money
Yeah,
by then, and
yeah.
so it wasn't a big.
I didn't need to, and so I quit. I had quit before once, and then when Darren was going on his mission, we decided I should go back to work for that period of time. So I worked another period of time while he was gone. I can't remember how that all worked out time-wise, but I did work for a while then.